That's right!
Welcome to the Know, I'm Turney.
I'm Jenkins.
Forget about the Zika virus. The new health crisis facing our country is watching people get it on. At least that's the word from the state government of Utah.
Yesterday, Utah Governor Gary Herbert signed a resolution. I'm gonna call him Herbert, even though it's probably something fancy like a bear. Signed a resolution that officially declares porn a public health hazard and epidemic.
The resolution recognizes that pornography is a public health hazard leading to a broad spectrum of individual and public health impacts and societal harms.
It goes on to recognize the need for education, prevention, research, and policy change at the community and societal levels in order to address the pornography epidemic that is harming the citizens of Utah and the nation.
Sounds like somebody's repressing something, or lots of somethings.
Where this XXX epidemic fits in, history's greatest epidemic hits? The resolution doesn't exactly clarify, but judging by the harsh language surrounding it, we'll assume it's somewhere between the Black Death and the 1918 flu pandemic.
Senator Todd Weller, the resolution's chief sponsor, and also maybe somebody who's hiding something, joined in the official announcement of booby movies. Weirdly enough, he placed the blame on fast food restaurants and libraries for being part of the porno problem.
Food porn. Weller said, if a library or McDonald's or anyone else was giving out cigarettes to our children or anyone else, we would be picketing them, and yet our children are accessing pornography on their tablets at their sites, and we seem to be okay with that.
Who got caught watching a blowjob at McDonald's? I'm sorry. One of his children. There you go. You. That is certainly, by the way, a point of view someone has out there. Now, as to whether or not you Utahns.
That's what it is.
Utahns.
Sorry, I'm from Utah. I'm ashamed of it right now, but that's where I'm from.
All right.
They are my people.
Utahns should be worried about whether or not you'll be able to get your jollies with online video anymore, but this resolution is actually completely non-binding with no applicable effects.
Yeah! Progress.
Utah.
Weller also said they're not looking to ban pornography, rather call attention to it. Oh, what? For these legislators, the resolution is mainly meant as a warning to the public about the dangers of pornography and a conversation starter about the effects that porn has on young people in particular.
They introduced, along with the resolution, a set of bills, all aimed at taking on a sexually toxic environment, like a bill requiring computer technicians to report any child pornography they find on a computer, which is actually good.
Yeah, so while there are some good measures in the bills, like not letting kiddie porn slip by, and even some important points brought up in the resolution, like the fact that many kids are exposed to pornography before they're exposed to sex ed, for instance, probably by rummaging around in their parents' closets, there's still some interesting language painting pornography at the center of emotional and medical illnesses.
Plus, you know, the whole health epidemic thing, which is a bit of a half-Latin rhetoric, regardless of your stance on pornography.
It's bad for your eyes. Never mind that Utah spends less money on education per student than any state in the country, which is how you get me, or the fact that they've scored an F in air quality, or that kids living in poverty has gone up 30% year over year.
Gotta stop those skin flicks though, guys.
Boobies are bad.
Yeah, boobies bad. To be fair to Utah, their economy is ranked in the top 10 states in the country. But hey, maybe that's because so many of their citizens are watching porn. Who knows?
Oh, maybe science does. Given the more recent upswing in porn acceptance and use, many legislators and researchers are spending a lot of time these days trying to find links between viewing pornography and a number of negative effects.
Gamers know a thing or two about that, don't we, people?
Look, we will find any excuse to study porn for the sciences.
As for what the science says, there are a load of studies, both pro and anti-pornography, that are, for the most part, pretty inconclusive.
What?
The mythology, we gotta keep watching, guys. We just don't know.
This needs more research.
The methodology of both sides is typically agenda-fueled and often finds associations and links rather than any actual factor of causation.
As for negative effects, a 2014 study published in the JAMA Psychiatry Journal found that males who reported more frequent use of pornography also had a significant reduction in the size of particular regions of the brain. Didn't think I was going to say brain, did you? Namely the striatum, which is associated with rewards and sexual stimuli.
Other studies indicate that an addiction to pornography results in less intimacy between couples, lower levels of commitment, or even infidelity.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how it would start some unrealistic expectations. Like, sex does not look like that.
Does it?
Part of the reason it's hard for researchers to find more than links is that use of porn is so widespread. It's actually difficult to find a non-porn control group. One scientist out of the University of Montreal said pornography research was almost impossible because they couldn't find any 20-year-old guys who hadn't watched any.
That's right. Most people watch pornography for the first time around age 10, which sounds like an infant at my age now, which does make it incredibly difficult to gauge one set of data against the next.
Wasn't there a story on the podcast a few weeks ago? Gus, so you guys were talking about finding nudie mags in the woods? Yeah.
See, like, our generation was like VHS tapes. Now people have digital. Like, you can't stumble upon the physical
My
copies.
dad doesn't watch the news, so I can tell you the first porn I ever saw, I found in his closet.
Yeah! See?
Look, but one thing that scientists do know is that pornography stimulates the dopamine reward system of the brain on a primal level at a factor that borders the same danger we'd find in people with food addictions.
While pornography addiction is something to take seriously, interestingly enough, it's not actually in the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders list of official disorders.
Just that title is bedtime reading.
That is a fucking mouthful.
What is in there, though? Online gaming. Pornography addiction unlisted because according to the APA, there is insufficient peer-reviewed evidence to establish the diagnostic criteria and course descriptions needed to identify these behaviors as mental disorders. Gaming, though.
We have studied that, though. We do know that. Still, other research shows that many of the criticisms people lay against even moderate viewing of pornography might actually not be all that true.
A 2007 study from the Queensland University of Technology in Australia showed that use of pornography didn't seem to predict whether or not men would exhibit attitudes of sexism towards women. Rather, sexism seemed to be linked to other socioeconomic, political, or geographical factors.
As for the claims that pornography leads to a rise in sexual assault, studies with statistics over the last several decades actually can't find any evidence of that, and may even indicate the opposite. Researchers found that areas with less access to the internet, as the internet became more widely used, saw an increase in 53% of sexual assaults, where states where internet access was more prevalent saw a drop of 27%.
Now, these are just associations, and there are complicated issues at play here. Was it causality doesn't mean causation? Then vice versa. But it's not as cut and dry as anyone would like you to believe, which is what makes people nervous when legislators start throwing around these sweeping statements as facts.
If one state decides to take this kind of aggressive stance towards pornography, or really any behavior on the internet deemed inappropriate, the natural worry, of course, is that it could lead to censorship.
We've already seen the likes of this in other places like the UK, where ISPs instituted porn filters that blocked more than intended. Users had to opt out of those, and guess what? 90% of people don't like having their internet censored.
And the other 10% just couldn't figure out how to do it, I'm sure. As for porn's negative effects, we'll say basically what we said in a report we did about violent video games back in January. Less time needs to be spent on whether or not media places impulses in our brains, and more about what those impulses say about us as a people.
We can find links between what we consume and what we do until the cows come home, but there are a lot of neurological or emotional issues that lead to addictive and negative behavior. Oftentimes people will put whatever they can in as a placeholder.
So, what do you guys think about Utah giving pornography the thumbs down? And then, never mind. We'll just keep it there.
Nope.
You just tell us what you think of the comments down below.
Thumb doesn't go anywhere else. For more on wars against porn and more porn and all the things, like this video and subscribe to The Know.
Porn! Welcome to The Know. I'm Meg Turney.
I'm Ashley Jenkins.
Forget about the Zika virus, or whatever the hell that thing is called. The new health crisis facing our country is watching people get it on. At last, that's... fucking hell. At last, that's all I wanted to say. At last, my porn has come along. All right. Sorry.
Nope.
Sorry. You get it? It's like... Okay.